being 10 times better is not an easy task. And I also don't believe that there is a single step-by-step guide that will automatically make you 10 times better than somebody else. It just doesn't exist. But yeah, I believe there are certain things that we can do to be better. In fact, Bible suggests us that there were people, the men of God who were used by God, who were 10 times better than everybody else. And we're going to look at one example, Daniel in chapter 1, verse 20. After he was trained, he and 4 of his friends were trained for 3 years in the Babylon, the captivity. We see in verse 20, it says, the king of Babylon found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers who were in all his realm. And I was thinking to myself, how did it happen? How did they become 10 times better? Because if we look at where they started at, all of the magicians and astrologers were good looking, gifted in all wisdom, possessing knowledge, quick to understand, and had an ability to serve. You know, they had those extraordinary qualities within themselves already, but yet somehow Daniel and his friends ended up 10 times better than everybody else. Why is that? Well, for me, I've noticed about this period, the Bible doesn't talk a lot what happened. I mean, it doesn't talk about their hard work and what they did, which I believe was a very important part of their journey. I believe they were very hardworking, knowledgeable. If we can see in their characters throughout their the whole book of Daniel and their story. But there is one thing that Bible talks about. In verse 8, it says, when they just got there, they were offered king's food. And it says, but Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's delicacies. Well, you see, the king's delicacies were blessed by false gods. And we see here Daniel purposing in his heart that he will not eat from king's table. Very small and insignificant thing at first glance. I mean, it's just food. Like, yeah, you can make an argument that it's blessed by false gods, but after all, it's still food. But yet he purposes not to eat it. You see, it all starts with our purpose in our hearts. When we're pressure resistant because of our beliefs, because of our principles in our hearts. It's the same thing that happens to me when I want to wake up in the morning to go somewhere. But yet when I'm setting my alarm in the evening, I'm saying, well, we'll see how I feel. It depends on that, if I'll go or no, if I'll wake up early or no. I can guarantee you that I won't wake up early. Why is that? Because when I'm met with some resistance, with some pressure of early morning, of kind of dark outside, and I'm tired, I will not have anything. I will have no foundation, no that purpose in my heart that I will wake up. So I will create an excuse to not do it. And we see that's what happened to Daniel. Daniel purposed in his heart that he will do the right thing, that he will follow the Lord in this little thing. And then afterwards, in verse 12, we see that he decides to take an action on that. He decides to ask the eunuch to give them different food. You know, I don't think Daniel knew that eating vegetables and water, which what they did instead, would give him a sustainable diet that would make him look better or fatter, which what they looked like afterwards. But yet he still trusted the Lord and did the right thing. We see one of the other important characteristics that he had is action to do the right thing. So we see those two things, and yeah, they sound good on the surface, but yet how do they relate to them being 10 times better in all the skills and all the knowledge and wisdom? And I do believe that they're related, because the Bible in verse 9, after David had purpose in his heart, it says, now God had brought Daniel into the favor and goodwill of the chief of the eunuchs. The thing happened after Daniel took action. In verse 17 it says, "As for these 4 young men," it talks about Daniel and his friend, "God gave them knowledge and skill in all literature and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams." Very interesting. Because before that, they were gifted in all wisdom, possessing all knowledge, quick to understand. They had all these qualities, but yet afterwards, God gave them more knowledge and skill in literature and wisdom and understanding. You see, it leads us to think that those little decisions that they made, these faithful decisions, has led them to be blessed by God even more. And as a matter of fact, becoming 10 times better than everybody else. You see, I'm not trying to take away from the things that we have to do, like work hard, like be persistent, be diligent in our studies. But yet, we will probably be limited to ourselves, to our abilities. Probably that if Daniel and his friends did what they were initially supposed to do, just being like everybody else, I think they would have still ranked the same as everybody else. But here they excel. And the reason that Bible is given us is because they obeyed in this little detail. They were faithful in small things. And God has given them the knowledge and skill in all literature. We can definitely see a correlation between of serving the Lord and being faithful to Him, to being blessed by Him, to being equipped by Him to do His work on a much bigger scale. You see, that's what I wanted to encourage us to do today. I wanted us to look at this example and the different examples of the Bible where the Spirit of the Lord was upon men of God because they were faithful to Him. Faithfulness to God is the number one thing that can equip us, that can make us better. Being faithful, yes, all of the discipline, the hard work, the yearn for knowledge, they're all kind of like a given. They're obviously included in it. But yet faithfulness is something that has made them much better than everybody else. Faithfulness to the Lord, the number one thing. Be faithful, and the Lord will bless you. The Lord will use you in great ways. Thank you.